All right, so the Sony State of Play finally ended. We had 20 minutes of non-stop Final Fantasy 16 gameplay, and I mean, wow! Like, I am through the roof excited. Like, I am so utterly hyped for this game, and this just helped amplify that. Anyways, I just wanted to make this video to share some of my thoughts about what I saw, some things that I love, some things that I didn't like, but overall, just my overall impressions. Before we get into that, do me a favor, you guys, like the video. If you like the video, please consider subscribing as it does help me out tons. And with that, let's hop into the video.
So the first big standout that I want to talk about is just the graphical fidelity of this game is insane. From the textures to the lightings to the animation, everything just looks so full of life and so current gen. Like, I feel like this is going to be one of the few games out that is going to be utilizing the power of current gen systems, and it just shows through and through with how fluid the animation looks, all the colors and lights, all the textures and the environments. Everything just looks so stunning, and it is beyond impressive. It just helps with the full-on immersion of this game. Something that I love too is that even though the game is very graphically intense and is definitely aiming for a more grounded look, they definitely took the high fantasy idea and kind of really ran with it, making these really colorful creatures, really weird looking things that we expect from Final Fantasy. Like, I love that they show us a lot of the traditional summons and a lot of the traditional enemies that we typically face in a Final Fantasy game, just to like help remind us that even though this game looks insane, even though the combat is completely otherworldly when it comes to Final Fantasy, what remains Final Fantasy is still here, is just amplified so greatly, and it just looks so much fun. One of my big pet peeves with like the PS4 kind of generation was that a lot of the environments looked very samey in a game, and a lot of the enemy variations were very much like, again, just repetitive. And in Final Fantasy 16, it looks like their whole goal was just kind of like mixing things up and keeping things very fast paced, from the environments to the animations. A bunch of the environments that they showed off looked very different. They look like they put a lot of attention to detail as far as keeping the environments different and varied to help create a world that feels more lived in and more exciting to kind of explore. And like, again, it just looks so much fun to see this world. It dove pretty deep into the story, into what we would kind of expect, how the story's gonna play out. And a couple of my things that I didn't really like is Clive. He's our main character, he's our main protagonist. He doesn't really exude the traits that I love my protagonist to really have. I understand that a lot of people really like that kind of stoic, kind of mysterious, rough around the edges kind of character. And for me, I kind of just like more fun, outgoing, everyman kind of people. And he doesn't really resonate with me in any kind of way. But I understand that a lot of people are gonna probably like this approach to a main character. We'll kind of see as the actual story plays out to see if he does have any kind of more redeemable qualities that make him feel more vulnerable and more human. Another thing I didn't like that they kind of expressed is they got a little bit in too much detail that I would have much rather preferred had I experienced myself. So like when I played Final Fantasy VIII, and when you get to disc 2 and you wake up and you're no longer Squall and you're Laguna now, and it was really cool to just kind of experience that and not have anyone ruin that for me. So I feel like this game is going to have a similar kind of segment, and I kind of wish I would have just experienced that for myself. But yeah, overall, I'm very hyped for the story of this game. But the thing that just ultimately completely sold me on this game was the varied combat and different kind of battle scenes that they were showing out and showcasing. Yoshi P was pretty much trying to push the narrative that this game isn't going to be stagnant. You're not going to know what's coming next. And even though we had 20 minutes of gameplay, he still said there's tons more that he hasn't shown us. So that, like, for me, mind boggles me. Like, I feel like we got so much out of these, and yet there's still so much more that they can show us. Got me super excited. Another huge standout was the music. The music is so phenomenal. It sounds like it just fits in a Final Fantasy game. It's very high fantasy, fast paced, very whimsical. They have a very different types of music, from like the faster paced action music to like the slower paced kind of traversal music. Stuff that just, you know, is going to be a banger OST, and that got me super excited as well. I know a big controversy in this game was the fact that a lot of people didn't like the shift from turn-based to action-based. But I feel like even though it is very action-based, even though it looks very flashy and very Devil May Cry, when you're seeing some of the prompts and some of the action buttons, it didn't really feel like smash square for attack, smash triangle for heavy slash, etc. It was very much like if you were to take the ATB system and kind of turn it into Final Fantasy, it looked like you click square for attack, and then you can press X for jump, and then triangle and circle are gonna be like attached to like some kind of magic skill. I'm assuming whatever magic skill or kind of slash ability you want to attach to that, it's gonna fit right there. And then it's probably gonna have a cooldown system after you use it, and you just have to cool down. I don't know. It just seemed very similar to like a very RTS style of the ATB system. And I don't know, it didn't really seem too far off from Final Fantasy. It felt pretty much like the action version of Final Fantasy, and I'm cool with that. I'm happy with this transition. I'm happy with them trying something new, and I'm just hoping I'm just hoping they stick the landing really well, not just with new fans that love action games, but with some of the old fans that just love Final Fantasy games and have stuck with the franchise from changing from 8-bit to 16-bit to the PlayStation over to the PlayStation 2. Like, I don't know, it's just a franchise that's always been changing, and I'm hoping that enough of the original Final Fantasy fans can stick by with this game and give it a shot at the very least. Some stuff that I thought was really cool too is the addition of like new kind of, not just side quests, but like kind of side activities. So Final Fantasy has been kind of, I remember back in like the PlayStation era, you kind of had these little side activities that you can do. Like Final Fantasy 7 had Golden Saucer, Final Fantasy 8 had like the card system, Final Fantasy 10 was famous for the Blitz Ball. Just these little side stuff that you can kind of kill time with when you're not actually playing the main game, and it kind of helped to vary up the gameplay, or if you kind of just want to add some extra hours into the game. So a couple of the modes that they added have the training mode, which is just gonna help you like perfect the actual battle mechanics, and that's kind of really cool, and it lets you experiment with some combos. They have an arcade mode, which is like you're gonna kind of just, I think, run through like a bunch of like enemies and bosses that are like filled in your bestiary. Besides the training and arcade mode, they brought back the hunts from Final Fantasy 12, and I'm super excited for this. I love the hunts back in Final Fantasy 12. How it worked is there'd be like a billboard, you'd go and check which hunts were available, you'd accept them, then you'd go out in the world and slay the monster, you'd come back and claim your reward, and it was just one of my favorite things to do. It was a cool way to introduce a bunch of new monsters, a bunch of different things, and just vary up some of the enemy varieties, and it was just really cool to have it. All in all, I'm hoping they have more than this, just because I want more out of this. I want a full content game, and I want them to bring back Chocobo Racing, because Chocobo GP was ass, and I want like a little mini version of Chocobo Racing would be really sick. I don't know, I think they can add so much things to this. Aside from all of this that I've talked about, the highlight was definitely the icon fights. These are promised to offer not just very crazy cinematic kind of battles that are gonna help fill out the world with these really cool boss battles, but they kind of also promise to vary up a lot of the combat systems. So they said there's going to be some that vary between just like big kind of kaiju battles. Some are going to be kind of like pro wrestling matches. There was one where it was like Phoenix and Bahamut, and they were kind of blasting each other, kind of shoot 'em up style. All in all, I was beyond impressed with this really strong outing from Final Fantasy 16. It did everything to remind me how amazing Final Fantasy is, how amazing this game is gonna be. I'm not gonna say this is my game of the year because I haven't played it yet, but it's definitely the most hyped I've been for a game, and this is gonna be the one that I'm definitely looking out for. On my huge list of games that I want to play this year, this is definitely up there at probably number 1, and I just can't wait for June 22nd to come out. With all that being said, let me know how what you guys are thinking. Did you guys like the video? Did you guys like what they showed from Final Fantasy 16? With all that said, I'll see you guys on the next video.